Hello and welcome to the Grumpy Sound Guy Show. I am your Grumpy Sound Guy. My name is J.R. Everhart. I am with CLP Audio and Staging. You can find me online at clpaudio.com. You can also find me on Facebook if you just search J.R. Everhart, Everhart. You will find my smiling behind there, posting all kinds of ridiculous stuff about the music business. Today is going to be Chapter 2. We had such an overwhelming response to last week's video about no amps on stage and silent stages and all that kind of stuff, and venues forcing bands to use direct input modelers instead of amps, and no wedge monitors on stage, so bands will have to be using in-ear monitors. That has been a huge hot topic, to touch on. I literally went through, I don't know, we're up to like 350 comments on that post now, and cherry picked out 8 different things from your comments that I am going to respond to on this subject of new venue rules, no amps on stage, or silent stage environments. So stick around. You do not want to miss a second of today's show, because I have a good feeling I'm going to piss some people off. So stick around, ought to be quite interesting. Hey guys, if I could just have a moment of your time to talk to you about this channel. 49.8% of you guys watching this right now is not subscribed to this channel. Will you please hit that subscription button? It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the channel on the public side here, and then that gives us tools and resources, and for my marketing team to be able to do what we need to do to get this content out to people who really enjoy this sort of thing. The other thing is, if you're super digging this and you'd like a deeper look into my world, then subscribe to the paid side of the YouTube channel. You can join for about the cost of a cup of coffee a month, and then I do vlogs over there. I post content that never goes public, and I let you into my world. I let you into the CLP audio world, and I let you see what our day-to-day life looks like. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. Hello and welcome back. So before I dive into all the meat and potatoes of this, because I have 3 pages of notes here, let me say this. My responses are coming from a place of doing 180 to 200 shows a year, dealing with mainly B-rated bands. That's what makes up most of the middle market cover tribute band scene. And just because you have tribute in the name of your band does not make you a automatic A-rated band. You may get that perception from some people because for whatever reason people tend to respect tribute bands more than they do the average cover band. That makes no sense to me whatsoever, because they're both playing someone else's music. But I will say this, I know a lot of tribute bands that put a lot of effort into looking like the original artists, sounding like the original artists, and really playing the music correctly. Probably 50% of the tribute bands that I have worked with were not doing any of that stuff. They were not getting the look correct, nor were they trying in some cases. They maybe played most of the music correctly, and most of the time did not sound like the record. So those guys coming to the conversation here feeling like they are somehow better than the rest of the cover band, even worship band from church production standpoint, worship band musicians, I think is a bunch of complete bull butter, and I put no validation in that whatsoever. Typically, if your comments start off with, I've been doing sound since 1823, then I know that you're going to be against all the modern technology stuff. And sometimes I won't even read the rest of your comment because I already know what you're going to say. Because if you just scroll through the comments, you'll find like 213 other people who have, 180 years of experience and don't understand modern technology or even modern music for that matter. And because they're afraid of it or they're too lazy to learn it, and we're going to talk about this, then they just want to poop on everything. So whatever, dude. I'm just a messenger here. Don't kill me, okay? I'm a loud drummer. The last, legit band that I was in was a classic rock band sponsored by Budweiser, Monster Energy Drink. We were kicking ass and taking names, and we were loud. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we were loud because I was loud. I openly take responsibility for the fact that my band was loud because I was a loud drummer. I have since went to extremes to deal with my own volume issues and my own volume ego. And if you come see me, I don't play out very much anymore because I'm too busy doing production work. And honestly, the volume Nazis just kind of busted my groove. I'm just going to be real. The way these venues want to do business nowadays is not necessarily something that I'm excited about being part of musically. I'm very excited about being part of it from a production standpoint, because the more they push the silent stage, protocol, the more demand there's going to be for guys like me who actually know what they're doing as a sound engineer, because the band is going to be reliant heavily on their sound guy to make sure that they're having the impact and moving the air in the room that their back line once did. I'm very good at that. I have a reputation for that. Go read the reviews on my Facebook profile for CLP Audio and Staging. They speak for themselves. Talk to my clients. They speak for themselves. I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. I'm saying that from a place of confidence. I have been in this business over 35 years. I've paid my dues. I have the inventory, to make it all happen. And we're very proud of what we do. We make no apologies. And I can think of one bad night that I have had in the last 10 years where we just could not get a break, and it was a whole bunch of stuff that was out of my control. But you know what? Everyone has a bad night. No one's exempt from that. Just like every band has a dead night. No one's exempt from that. I don't care who you are. Sooner or later, you're going to play to an empty room. That's just the way it goes. So understand that I'm coming from a standpoint of I'm very good friends with the venue owners. A lot of times they're writing a check for me. Very good friends with most of the upper echelon of, mid B to, high A bands in the Mid-Atlantic. So I'm drawing from those conversations. I'm very good friends with no less than, 5 or 6 different major booking agents in the Mid-Atlantic. I hear their complaints. I hear what they wish their bands were doing better. So my comments and my responses to your comments are coming from that place. I'm not saying that silent stage is the right move. I'm not saying that it is productive in pushing us forward as a music community. I'm just reporting what I'm discovering in the scene and what people are telling me, and I'm trying to let you know that if you want to continue to play the middle market in a way to where it's financially beneficial to you, then you have to learn how to dance around these new protocols. I have to do it, from a production standpoint. If I play in a band, like I started to say a minute ago, if you come see me play now, you will absolutely see me playing with silent sticks or hot rods. That's the sticks that have the little dowels all taped together. I like them better than the silent sticks because I like the feel of wood in my hands, and I'm playing an instrument you have to hit with a stick. So, it's hard to put a volume knob on that. And I realize that. And I don't enjoy playing an electronic kit. So I'm trying to do everything in my power to pull back so that when I do play out, we're a little more digestible, from the audience perspective. And if you don't become a band who can figure that out, your career is going to be severely attenuated as we move forward here, because this is just the beginning. The things that we talked about last week in chapter 1 is just the beginning. It's some of these casinos who hold a lot of power inside that middle market. They do a lot of live music in those venues, kind of hold the keys to that kingdom. And what happens there almost always trickles down into the local dance clubs, sports bars, and menu venues. And the second the bar owners figure out that they can get away with silent stages, the second that's going to be the norm. And I know that's disturbing for a bunch of you guys. Some of you guys are yelling at me right now before I even get to the list. You're already yelling at me. Like, screw that, dude. I ain't playing that venue. I ain't doing that. If I can't bring my amp, then I'm not coming. Okay. But I'm here to tell you that the agents and the venue owners don't care. Okay? We're going to talk about that too. That's also on the list. So without further ado, 8 minutes into this or so, so for all those that want to complain, did you watch 8 minutes of your video, man, before you even got to the list, man? You just shut up and get to the point. You know what? Dude, take that noise to somebody else's channel. I'm trying to genuinely do some good here, and I'm trying to equip you guys with what might be coming and hitting your radar in your area and how you can be prepared for it and you don't get sideswiped by this stuff. Okay? That's the purpose of this content. If you can't understand that, don't let the door hit you in the rear end on the way out. Okay? Some of this stuff I'm going to share today is going to be hard to swallow, but it's where we got to go if we're going to continue to do this. You might think that you're going to boycott these clubs and somehow cause them to change their minds. I promise you that's going to fail. Because when you want to get back to the bare essentials of this conversation, it's the audiences that are complaining the most about volume. They're the ones that's putting pressure on the venue owners, the bartenders, the waitresses, the people who's got to work these clubs and these casinos to turn it down. So before you get mad at the venue, take a hard look in the audience's faces, because they're the ones that are asking for this, okay? Yes, there is staff asking for this as well, because they'd like to be able to hear somebody order, a drink over the bar or from the table, because let's face it, entertainment is there to make the bar money with food and beverage. So what we do, you're not, Steve Vai or the Foo Fighters or Guns N' Roses. Most of this middle market is made up of bands that are there, to put butts in seats, and for those butts in seats to spend money on food and beverage. If you are doing anything to get in the way of that, you are counterproductive to what your band is trying to accomplish. A lot of that starts with dealing with your ego. We're going to talk about that too. So, Chapter 2, number 1. No one's telling national bands that they can't bring amps. This whole conversation is directed toward middle market cover bands and tribute bands. I had a couple people in the comments section, well, go tell, Angus Young or Joe Bonamassa, to show up without his amp and see what he says. Okay, well, look here, Einstein. Joe Bonamassa and AC/DC are not playing the local Moose, okay? They are not playing your local dance club. They are not playing O'Malley's Corner Pub. They are not playing your corporate event, for XYZ cybersecurity company who actually has real money to pay for a band to come out and play the music that their employees want to hear. This is apples and oranges, okay? Now, I will grant you as an old school cat that those guys didn't get where they were by playing on silent stages. 100% understand that. But you have to understand the original scene, the original circuit, the original market is radically different than the middle market cover band scene. It just is. Yes, we see original bands trickle down into some of our clubs from time to time, especially if they do a cattle call event. Like, I know metal bands that do that all the time. They'll end up in a local dance club on a dead date that the club knows that they're not going to have a lot of people there, or maybe they're going to have some big regional act there the next night that's going to probably sell out with all their regulars, they will book like a cattle call metal show where there's like 6 or 8 metal bands that are going to come in, take over the place, play way too damn loud, and no one's going to complain because it's what you expect from metal. But those all original bands are aiming to a different set of venues. They're not aiming toward menu venues. They're not playing O'Malley's Sports Bar, not regularly. You know, they're trying to get on that original circuit so they can be picked up by, you know, a record company or by bigger management or a booking agency or anybody that can get them to the next level. So you can't bring their framework into this conversation. This conversation is specifically toward cover bands and tribute bands. So that's number one. Number two, modelers can sound, guitar modelers, guitar direct input modelers can sound as good as the real thing. I work with guys all the time that do this, and yes, you can get feedback with these things. No clue how they do that. I think it's some kind of top secret government alien technology. I don't know. But I have seen guys playing through, you know, Kempers and Fractals and, you know, things like that and still can get feedback. And I'm standing there like scratching my head like I have no idea how this is happening. I'm not 100% sure this is even, this might be against the laws of nature or something. I don't know what's going on here, okay, is what I'm saying. But it is possible because I've seen it with my own eyes. Your desire to feel the air, had a lot of guys in the comments section, well, man, if you're not moving air, you're not moving the audience. That is not always true. I know a ton of silent stage bands that have no problem getting the audience off their butts and on the dance floor because they're off their butts on stage. The audience is always a mirror of what's happening on stage. You could be the best band in the world musically, but if you're a bunch of stage statues, your audience is going to be a bunch of stage statues. They're going to be dance floor statues, okay? But if you're a band that projects energy, it has nothing to do with your back line. It has to do with you. If your band projects energy, that will translate into an audience that will project energy back in most cases. So your desire to feel the air is superseded by the venue's desire to make money. Learn to adapt or be prepared to fade away into the sunset. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you it's where it's going and it's what we're all having to deal with. Number 3, it's always the Indian, not the arrow. Tone starts at your fingertips. This is why Jeff Beck sounds like Jeff Beck no matter what guitar he's playing or what rig he's playing through. I just seen an interview not long ago on the Rick Beato channel. I forget who he was interviewing. It might have been Warren Haynes or somebody. I don't know, but they were talking about that exact point, that Jeff Beck had showed up and picked up his, this guy's guitar and started playing. He's like, it sounded like Jeff Beck, Even though he's playing through my rig, he sounds like Jeff Beck because Jeff Beck is right here. It's in his fingers. There was someone else just like 2 days ago I seen on a Facebook short or reel where they were talking about Eddie Van Halen. They were touring with Van Halen, and Eddie would come out and play on his guitar rig, and he would sound like Eddie Van Halen. And then the guy that was, telling the story here got on Eddie's rig and still sounded like himself, So tone starts here, ladies and gentlemen, in the fingers, in your approach to the instrument, not at your amp. Yes, your amp, your pedals, all that stuff is part of your tone. I get that. I'm not saying that that is not the case. But I have mixed a boatload of guys from Nashville, Austin, New York, LA. I'm trying to even think of some other big music cities that I have, seen people come through. Mixed a bunch of those American Idol people who were, traveling around with a bunch of hotshot, studio guys. All of them were playing Fractals, Kempers, stuff of that. Tone X is another one that I've seen, a good bit of. Starting to see more of that now here more recently. But they show up, dude, with a really cool Fender Strat or a Tele or a Les Paul and a Kemper running direct and sound as good as any Marshall stock I've ever heard in my entire life. And I've been doing this a very long time, okay? I may not be a guitar player, but I know the difference in a Tele, a Strat, and a Les Paul. I know the tonal differences in those different guitars. I know the difference in a Marshall and a Fender Twin. I know the difference in a Mesa, you know what I'm saying? And these boutique amps, you know? Like, your ego is so radically attached to your volume sometimes that if we can just break that and get you in a place where you can be open to trying new things. You know, the biggest problem I see with guys that are using direct input modelers is they try to customize it to their own thing and end up ruining their tone. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of middle market cover bands that I mix that are playing through Helixes, and the guitars sound like a swarm of bees. It's just thin, buzzy, fuzzy, has no real depth to it, and is just barely tolerable out front. And I try to fatten it up, but you know how it is, man. Crap in, crap out. That's just the way it goes. But I've seen guys show up, not even Nashville guys, just local guys who like legitimately know what they're doing. They know what good guitar tone should sound like, who show up with a Helix and sound like $1 million. It's always the Indian, not the Arrow. It's always you developing tone here first, and then you knowing how to use the technology to translate that tone to the audience, or at least to your sound guy. And then it's my responsibility to not get in the way of your tone, okay? Because I know there's a lot of bad sound guys out there that destroy your tone. Not saying that that's not part of the equation, because I see it and hear it with my own eyes and ears. It just is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's not a perfect world. But if the venue will step up in these silent stage, scenarios, I think that should motivate them more to hire a good seasoned sound guy who can give the band and translate what the band is bringing to the stage to the audience. That's huge. I take that extremely seriously in what I do. I feel very privileged that I get to work with, most of the time, I'll say 90% of the time, I get to work with really, really good musicians. Solid guys that understand tone, that can really play, and that can really play the songs as a band, not as 5 individuals in baseball hats. You know what I'm saying? Like guys that can really get it done. And I value their trust that they put in me as a sound guy to translate that and reinforce that, not recreate it, reinforce that to the audience and just fill in the nuances for the room to make sure that I understand. Thankfully, I'm a musician. I'm so glad that I'm a musician, that I understand what they're trying to get across as a band, and I try to just put the icing on the cake. It's their responsibility to bring properly made, mixed, and put together cake to the table, because I can't recreate it and make suck sound great. If you give me suck, it's going to suck. And, that's the other side of this conversation with guitar players, is if your tone sucked on an amp, it's going to suck in a modeler. That has nothing to do with the gear, dude. That has to do with you. You're the problem in that situation. You're the guy that needs to go back to the table or get with other guitar players you respect, humble yourself, and become teachable again. And learn how to get there. Learn how to get from one step to the other. I'm not saying this is an easy transition. I know it's hard. I don't like change any more than you do. But we're either going to change and evolve with how the industry is moving, or we're going to become obsolete. The phone's going to stop ringing. And then we're going to be sitting on our couch on Friday and Saturday night in the Grumpy Sound Guys comment section telling everybody how all the modern music sucks and all this new technology sucks, and digital consoles suck, or mixing on an iPad sucks, and we're going to get into all that here next. I'm cocked and loaded for all that too. Number 4, no one cares. Okay, no one cares. Only 3% of your audience will even notice your gear. Now, I am someone, when I'm doing artist development or band development, because I do that regularly, you'd be surprised the time that I spend most of the time for free trying to help bands get to the next level, trying to give honest critiques with a kind and gentle heart to get guys from point A to point B, because I want a strong music scene. When the music scene is strong, I have everything to benefit from that. When the clubs are making money, I have everything to benefit from that. Okay? So I always tell bands to play to the 3% that know the difference. Don't get bamboozled by the 97% that tell you how amazing you are. Those compliments should fall on deaf ears every single time. Listen to the other musicians that show up at your gig. If a band shows up to support you on their night off, on Monday morning, send some emails out, send some private messages, some direct messages out to those guys and say, hey, would you please give me an honest critique of our band? Because I'd really like to know how we can do what we do better. And please just be brutally honest, because we need that honesty. The biggest, most toxic poison to every band is the compliments of the 97% that don't know anything about music. If you allow that to resonate in your heart, you will never, ever strive toward the next level. You will learn to accept mediocrity, and you will learn to live on their compliments, and you'll never gain the respect of the people who hold the keys to the kingdom. But at the end of the day, most of the audience doesn't care, okay? They don't care if you're in a Marshall, or if you're on a Tonex, or a Helix, or a Kemper, or a Fender Twin, or if you're playing a $12,000 Les Paul. They don't care. This is the generation of Guitar Hero, where guitar was dumbed down to 4 or 5 buttons on a plastic guitar. And they thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Those are predominantly the people that we're dealing with here in some of these clubs. Put it in perspective. You want to make money, or you want to stay at home and bellyache and complain in somebody's comment section? Number 5. We have 8 of these, by the way. You're free to damn the man, quote unquote, all you want. You're just going to become a distant memory. The future of our musicians, the future of musicians' career is heavily dependent on them growing with technology and not fighting it. And I think I was kind of, getting at that there with some of the I don't care stuff from the audience perspective, because it's like, look, man, this whole damn the man idea, that's all fine and good when you're sitting at home behind your keyboard or your computer or on your cell phone at the bus station. But look, if you want your band to get hired and you want to be out playing clubs, you want to be making money, you want to have a band that at least will put a couple dollars in your pocket after, gas and, dinner at the club and that sort of thing. God forbid, if you're trying to make a living at this as a musician, you got to get to a place where you can grow and you can get past the fear of change. You just do. Number 6 is toward all the sound guys that blew up my comments section about how they're too good to mix on this new way of life, okay? So let me just read the section here. This is all first draft stuff here. I just jotted these notes down as I came in, so bear with me as I read through some of my horrible grammar skills here. To all the sound guys that are damning the man as well, complaining about in-ear monitors and direct input silent stages. In my personal experience, the ones doing this refuse to change with technology. They can't set up a simple router closed network. It scares them to death. They refuse to learn mixing station, or just afraid of it. They used some consoles. At some point, they tried to mix on an iPad. They're just speaking from experience here. They have tried to mix on an iPad using some OEM manufacturer's app or a native app, and some of those apps have problems with them crashing. They were on a router that wasn't set up correctly. They were maybe trying to connect with 2.4 instead of 5G, or now 6G is the new thing, to where you can have a clean, strong connection to the mixer. And because it didn't work the first time they used it, they have They're totally pooping on it. They don't understand how a lot of it works. They don't understand that Mixing Station completely changed the game. It completely changed the workflow on an iPad because now you can customize it to your workflow. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I can mix exactly as efficient on an iPad as what I can on a console. But I can get damn close. I'm talking 95 percentile close. I would challenge you to mix side by side with me on your console and do things that I can't do inside Mixing Station. Because Mixing Station has been a game changer. It's rock solid. I rarely ever lose connection. If I do, I might be in downtown Baltimore where there's 200 ships out in the harbor and it's just a real busy RF thing, but I never mix in a manner to where if I lose, connection, it's going to cause some issue. Somebody said, what are you going to do if somebody walks in front of the speaker and starts feeding back and you lose connection? And then it takes you 30 seconds to get reconnected and there's going to be feedback for 30 seconds. I've never, knock on wood, I've never had that happen, The times that I've lost connection, I've always had a second iPad connected at the control rack. I can always run back and grab that and keep going. If I'm at a festival, I always have M32 Edit open behind my my lighting software. So if I lose the iPad, I got the, man, you just find ways around it to be redundant. When I first started, when I came off of analog onto digital, I used to keep a laptop hardwired to the mixer all the time. That way there was a hardwired connection at all times on the laptop with M32 Edit open. And then I just got tired of carrying the thing around because I never used it. And I stopped setting it up. And I just have never had an issue where losing a signal for, 10 seconds or something like that was ever a big, giant problem. Just wasn't, man. So a lot of these cats have just convinced themselves that instead of learning how to use the technology, that they're just going to poop on it and say that, I don't think it sounds the same and it ain't this and it ain't that and blah, blah, blah and all this, that, and the other. And it's like, dude, we're living in an MP3 world. You know what I'm saying? People don't care. Yes, point source sounds better than line array. There, I said it, okay? Yes, probably a physical amp sounds better than a Kemper. In some cases. I'll give you some of that, okay? But not enough to justify giving up your whole career as a musician because you won't grow into this silent stage movement that is slowly starting to take root. So let me get back to my thing here. They have to have a console in front of them or else they claim that they can't mix in the same on glass, is what some guys call it. I think that's the dumbest term in the world, but you call it whatever you want to call it. They call mixing on an iPad mixing on glass. I understand you're mixing on a sheet of glass and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot more to that tablet than a piece of glass. And really, if you want to start splitting hairs, it's borderline rude that you would even dumb it down to that because it does a whole lot more than just be a piece of glass. But I got news for you. Whether you're on a control surface with knobs and faders in front of you, or you're on an iPad, if that mixer takes a dump, you're basically just controlling a computer is all you're doing. If it takes a dump and the CPU goes down on it or a power supply goes down on it, all your knobs and faders are not going to save the day, okay? It absolutely will not save the day. The only argument you can have is that you're able to do multiple things at one time on a physical console, from layer to layer, easier than what you can on a tablet or an iPad. I would argue that the things that I needed to do on multiple layers, I can now put on the top layer because Mixing Station is so customizable. Now I don't have to dig through layers to get there. Does that make sense to you? Now I don't have to you know, wave some magic wand over the console and be mixing on 3 layers at one time, because now I can put it all on the top layer. That's something you can't do with a physical console that I can do with Mixing Station on an iPad. So your argument, you know, is a little thin, dude. It's a little thin. It really comes back to, are you going to, you know, man up, humble yourself, you know, get past this whole I got to be the smartest guy in the chat section, you know, kind of mentality, and become somebody who's teachable again and learn this stuff? I had to do all that. I came from analog. I spent, in 35 years, well, over 35 years of mixing, I've spent the predominant amount of that time on analog gear. And I went to digital kicking and screaming, man. I was afraid of it. I didn't understand it. But I was smart enough to know that if I was going to continue to have a career doing this, I was going to have to get past that fear. I was going to have to get past my own ego. I was going to have to get past the fact that I can kick ass and take names on an analog rig, but I haven't quite gotten there on a digital rig, and that's uncomfortable. Let's talk about the elephant in the room here, ladies and gentlemen. It's uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. You know, if you're someone who's used to winning all the time, it's hard to learn something new and realize that failure can be your greatest asset in learning. The more you fail, the deeper you dig into learning the technology. And that's exactly how it happened for me. You know, I just got in there and really submitted myself to other guys, a lot of guys younger than me, you know, that knew the technology better than me. I spent an enormous amount of time on YouTube watching tutors, you know, on manufacturers' websites watching tutors, you know, in forums, reading. I can remember I spent boatloads of time like in gearsluts.com, you know, all those pro audio forums, just reading and reading and reading and reading and reading, you know, trying to get through all the troubleshooting. You know, when this technology first came out, it had problems. I mean, they've kind of got it refined now for the most part, but when it first came out, like first generation X32 was horrible. The first generation of the Soundcraft UI was horrible. You know, the first generation or two of the PreSonus stuff was atrocious. But you know what? I got in there and became part of the community that was all trying to, you know, help each other out and figure this stuff out. And man, I learned it. I still would never call myself an expert. I don't know everything. I just know what I know. And I've been doing this long enough to know what works and what doesn't work. And I know how to navigate the digital consoles that are put in front of me. It's very rarely that I ever get stumped, because I've just been, in 35 years, been through so many different scenarios that every time you run into a situation where, even if it's things that are out of your control, you learn something from that. So I'm thankful for those times that I failed. I am. I'm thankful for the times that things didn't work out the way I wanted it to. I'm thankful for the times that I went home with my tail between my legs, ready to give up. You know, mad, cussing digital mixers because I didn't get it. And I'm someone who gets frustrated because I figure things out pretty quickly. And if I can't figure it out in the first 2 or 3 times using it, I'm ready to take a ball bat to it. You know what I'm saying? So look, I feel your pain, man, okay? I understand where you're coming from. But if you just hang in there and you keep trying and you keep pushing forward and you don't give up, don't fall into that old school mentality of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm proof you can teach an old dog new tricks, okay? If I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm sitting here with a high school GED. I walked away from 4 music scholarships out of high school to go on the road and play music full time, okay? I did not go to college. I have a general education diploma, okay? I'm not a rocket scientist here, but I got a lot of experience in this business, and I have been doing this for a very, very long time, and I've made some stupid mistakes over the years. Through those failures, I've been able to learn, and I've been able to become a better engineer. I still, to this day, humble myself. When I get in the presence of my pro touring buddies, man, I'm all ears. I shut up, and I start listening. You know, a wise man once said, there's a reason why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's because you're supposed to be listening twice as much than you are talking. And I like to talk, so that's hard for me. But I also know that I still have a lot to learn. And there's a lot of things about this business I would like to learn. But my little world, I have a pretty good handle on. You can too, man. I'm not here to make you feel like a jerk. I'm not here to make you feel like less than who you are. I'm here to tell you that if you can get past your ego and your superiority complex, you can become someone like me who is highly in demand because he's learned to grow and to mold and to evolve with the ever-changing technology. Look, I bust my rear end to keep up with this stuff, and there's still so much that I'm not up on, okay? I'm also trying to run a business here, okay? I just spent the whole weekend doing, shows and festivals and setting stages up and, flying gear and, hanging lights and, the whole deal, dude. My boots are on the ground. My hands are dirty. My shirt is wet from sweating all day, okay? I'm not someone who sits in some high position of authority and just points and says do this and do that. And no, dude, I'm in there with my crew. I'm getting dirty right along with them. It's just the kind of guy I am. I'm a blue-collar guy, and it's the kind of guy I am. You can get past this. You can learn this. You can learn Mixing Station. There's so much free information about Mixing Station on YouTube. And there's a wonderful community of Mixing Station users on Facebook. There's a Facebook page for Mixing Station users that's wonderful. And there's no stupid questions there. You can ask dumb questions and them people will not judge you and they will help you. But you got to put forth the effort, dude. At some point, something's got to ignite in you, and your fear of change has got to overwhelm whatever's getting in the way of you actually changing. So that's my good deed for the day. And instead of sitting here and ridiculing you and telling you that you're just an old dog that refuses to change, I'm telling you there's hope. You can change and you can become a better engineer. You can learn these things. I have had the privilege of working with guys older than me that's been in this business a lot longer than me and have a really good track record, but knew absolutely nothing about digital mixers, knew nothing about setting up Wi-Fi networks, knew nothing about any of this modern technology. And they came and they spent a month or two with me, going out on gigs with me, some of them only 2 or 3 gigs. And they got the answers to the questions they needed, and it was enough to get them going and moving forward. I love that. That has been a pleasure. That's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life outside of my work inside of recovery. Has been paying it forward, man, and taking guys from point A to point B. I want everyone to win, okay? That's just the attitude that I have. I feel that way about my competitors. I want everyone to win. There's enough work for everybody. There is a huge shortage of really good sound engineers. If you don't believe me, ask any working band that does 160 shows a year and ask them what kind of mess that they run into from time to time on the road. There is a huge demand for really good, seasoned sound engineers. And you older cats are easier to train than some of the younger cats because you already have an ear for frequency. You already understand gain structure. You just need to learn the mechanics of all of it and how it all fits together in today's world. That's all I have to say about that, okay? Because that could be a whole nother episode. Number 7, this is part 2 of No One Cares, okay? The venue owners don't give a rip about what you're mixing on or whether you're using inner monitors or wedges. What they do know is this is 100% of bands' faults. That's what the venue owners are thinking. This is the band's fault that they're too loud. That's why they are trying to change the framework of their venue. They don't know, and I've had guys come to me, I've had venue owners come to me, I've even had some agents come to me. Most agents are musicians and get this. Some of the agents I work with are not musicians, they don't understand this. They come to me and they'll say, why does band A so much harder to work with volume-wise than band B. And 100% of the time, band A is bringing in live amps and stage wedges. Band B has all direct inputs and in-ear monitors. Every single time. It never fails. So then those agents and venue owners get to this I don't care mentality. They don't care if you want to feel the air of your amp. They're there to make money. They don't want you running people out of the place. They don't want people going home and jumping online on Yelp or on Google, reviews and leaving a bad review like, man, the place was awesome, the food was good, but the bands are just so loud that I can't stand to be there. Make sure you bring earplugs. That is a venue owner's worst nightmare. So they don't care. They don't care what you're bringing. They just want you to fit inside a criteria that is conducive to bringing people in, keeping people there, and allowing an environment that promotes the sale of food and beverage. That's how they make their money. It's the whole reason why you're there. To entertain these people and make them feel jolly and feel like they're ready to open their wallet and spend some money. So a lot of you cats are like really trying to die on this hill of it's got to be the way it's always been or else. And I'm just here to tell you, the venue owner does not care. You know what they care about? They care about you turning their dining room upside down with a front of house booth. Even if you shove it in the corner, they got to give up 2 tables for you to set up your console and then run wires around the edge of the wall. Especially, a lot of times we're setting up while there's a dinner crowd there. So you're disrupting dinner by running your cables, or you've got to run them along the ceiling if there's track in the ceiling or something. These venue owners don't want to deal with that. They want you on a wireless iPad sitting at a table, not 2 tables, 1 table in the back of the room mixing the band. Or at the corner of the bar, mixing the band on an iPad. Because that is the framework that promotes the potential for maximum profit that night. If you don't understand that, then your ego's in the way of why you're even in this business. Then you should be in an original band playing, purpose-built venues that only host original bands, make no money, and get out there and beat the street and trying to make it as a rock star. The rest of us that are in the middle market cover band scene, these are the things that we got to learn to live with. I can't tell you how many times I went to a new venue and at the end of the night, the bar owners come to me and ask me for a card. He's like, not only is your mix superior, but it wasn't too loud. The way you worked with the band was a professional manner that we're not used to seeing. We're used to people yelling back and forth at each other. And, there's people in the room. There's sometimes family, kids in the room. And guys are throwing F-bombs back and forth to each other. And you don't disrupt my dining room. You come in with an iPad, you sit in the back of the room, and it's as good or better than what anybody else is doing that turns my room upside down. Again, the venue owner doesn't care. They don't care about your fragile little ego. They don't care about all the things that you feel like you have to have in order to perform correctly. They will pull you off the schedule and hire another band that'll come in next week and take your place and not even think twice about it. Choice is yours. You go out and play out on Saturday night, or you go end up in the Grumpy Sound Guys comment section belly aching and complaining about how everything sucks. Finally, and this is a quick one and we're almost done. Give me 5 more minutes and we're done. And this goes for a variety of things in the music business. I've done whole long form videos on this one idea. Stay humble, stay teachable. The second you become unteachable is the second you have stopped growing as a musician or as a sound engineer. Always stay teachable. Now, I know a lot of guys that will, oh man, I'm teachable. I'm this, that, and the other. Until you tell them that what they're doing is incorrect. And now all of a sudden their butt hurt. Now they got an attitude. Now they got a problem. Well, I don't have time for that, okay? Because I'm trying to make money And I'm trying to give my clients the most bang for their buck. I don't have time to dance around your fragile little ego. I don't have time to dance around your fragile little feelings. You need to suck it up and get with the program or go someplace else. Because the CLP audio train is going 100 mile an hour down the tracks. And if you ain't hanging on, you will fall right off the train. And I'm not going to stop the train to go get you. Okay? Stay humble, stay teachable. Be mindful of your environment. Be mindful of the ears that are listening to your conversations. I can't tell you how many times I've had just Joe Blow out of the audience, who was a friend of mine, overhear a band and a sound guy talking trash about me. And then that guy immediately calls me. Sometimes he'll take pictures of them, or video of them and send me the pictures and the video. Like, I just overheard these guys saying X, Y, and Z about you. That stuff never bothers me. I mean, I'll post content about it because sometimes it really stirs up the pot and it gets you guys commenting and talking. And the more you do that, the more my content does better, And that's not even a financial thing. That's a matter of just getting interactions in the content so that YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok and these other people will open my content to a broader audience so that they'll focus my content toward musicians, sound engineers, DJs, people who play in praise and worship bands, all that kind of stuff. That happens through sheer numbers, period. Nothing else gets that. The quality of my content. If I had a nickel for every time one of you guys have commented and said, I can't believe you don't have more followers on YouTube. Last month was 3 years since I started the YouTube channel. I had the TikTok channel 2 years before that. So I've been doing this for 5 years. In the world of YouTube, I am an infant little baby, okay? It's gonna come. It's just a matter of time. My content's legit. I believe in it. I believe you guys see what I'm trying to do here. I know you believe in it, but I'm still humble. I'm still trying to stay teachable because there's so much about content creation I don't know that I'm trying to figure out as I go along. Everything from shooting video to how we post and hyperlinking stuff and tagging things and search engine optimization and all the digital marketing stuff that makes me want to shoot myself in the face with a bazooka. Okay, I'm just trying to be a sound engineer and turn sonic chaos into art. Okay, that's what I do. All right. But if I'm going to survive in this world and I'm going to continue to water the ground by which my career grows out of, I have to stay teachable. And I got a big fat issue with pride sometimes, And believe me, I could tell you some stories where I've had my ass handed to me, where pride has wrote checks that I did not want to cash. But you know what? They were great learning opportunities, and they were great opportunities for me how to better handle that situation the next time it comes around. That's really the key to your success. You don't have to be the greatest sound engineer in the world. You don't have to be the greatest musician in the world. You just have to play to your strengths and do the few things that you do really well, do that a lot, okay? And then be open to grow beyond that so you're constantly in this blooming process of recreation and recreating yourself anew every year or two. And with gear, it's always about trying to stay relevant. It's a constant money pit of trying to buy gear, and gear is so expensive and it's so hard. But look, man, let me give you a word of advice that was given to me, and I'm going to leave you with this and we're going to be done. People are buying you more than they're buying your services. Now, they may have come to you because of your reputation, but that doesn't mean they'll stay with you because of your reputation. They will stay with you if they like you. It's really that simple. It's the same reason why people can sell $3,000 vacuum cleaners door to door to people who don't need a $3,000 vacuum cleaner. You know why? Because they get in there, they know how to earn people's trust. They know how to demonstrate the product in an intelligent manner, show them that it's a value, and be someone that they want to be buddies with. You know who the most successful people in this business are? They're the people who always come off as your brother's best friend, the guy that everyone loves to hang out with. Or your sister's best friend, the girl everybody wants to hang out with. Because the ladies are really starting to catch up with us guys. Most of them are beyond us. I'm not even trying to, act like that there's any measure between male or female when it comes to mixing. I have always said, especially as musicians, I have always said that girl drummers were better than guy drummers because they had just a better sense of rhythm, and I find that to ring true many times with pro audio. I had a girl that I trained for many years in a church environment who to this day is one of the best sound engineers, just naturally gifted sound engineers that I've ever worked with. And she's Harriet Homemaker right now. She's a school teacher and not the least bit worried about running sound in any form or fashion outside of what she volunteers to do at her church. And that's cool too. So, the ladies are, I'm just seeing more and more women in the industry is what I'm trying to say. And I welcome that. I think that's a great thing, I think iron sharpens iron. We all get in here, we help each other, and we try to get into a place where we can really help each other grow and challenge each other. But, the people that are the most successful are the people that everyone wants to be around. I got a buddy of mine, like, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes away from me, that has a much bigger production company than me. And I look forward to the time that I get to spend with him, even if we don't even talk about production stuff. We can be talking about food because he's a foodie and I'm a foodie and we're both overweight and we both should probably go on a diet. But there's nothing that we can't talk about that we're not having the time of our life together. Those are the kind of people that people want to do business with. And I have radically different political and social opinions about things that 99% of my clients don't share with me. But you know what? That's never on the table. Because I'm a firm believer that we can believe different things and still love each other. That there's room at the table for everyone, as my buddy Kelly Bell always says. There's room at the table for everyone. I love that, man. I love that. God's been good to me. I got to give credit where credit's due, And I have messed up. There's been times where my temper's got the best of me. There's been times where I've been tired and frustrated. There's been times where I've been hangry, and grumpy, But because I am labeled as the grumpy sound guy online, I go over and above to be just the opposite of that when I'm out and about. Because this is just an online persona. It's a play on words because sound guys have always been labeled as grumpy. Usually because we didn't get enough sleep and we're dealing with an impossible situation all the time. That's usually why most sound guys are grumpy. Even in the face of that, I'm just trying to love on people, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to give people the best that I can give them. If you come to me after sound check, please, after sound check, and want to talk shop, I'll tell you anything you want to know about my rig, about my philosophy of mixing. I'll show you my mixing station layout. Whatever. If you want to come hang out with my crew for 6 months, cool, man. Come on out and hang out. I'm okay with it. I'm all about paying it forward. But you got to come to the table humble, and that starts with the condition of your heart, dude. You got to get your heart right, and you got to be teachable, because I can't help someone who already has all their own answers. And in the production world, the most chronic, cancerous disease that I see plaguing people and what is keeping people from getting to the next level is the superiority complex that is so prevalent. There's so many egos in this business. And when you get into a room of engineers, it's like, I see it all the time. A lot of times I just quietly bail out and go into the next room or just get out of the circle or whatever, because it's a bunch of guys all trying to prove to each other who's the smartest guy in the circle. I don't really have any desire to play that game because I know that I don't know everything. And I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that, I'm at peace with there are things that I need to learn. But I'm also confident in knowing that I have a lot that I can teach and that I can share. Understanding the balance between those things and understanding how to carry yourself in those environments, I don't need anyone's validation. I always say, if you love what I do, great, man, that's awesome. Thank you. Genuinely, thank you for your support. But if you don't like what I do, well, that's okay too. Because I know what I do isn't for everyone. And I can't make everyone happy, and I'm not going to exhaust any energy anymore in my life trying to make people happy who just refuse to be happy no matter what you do. Some people are just miserable and they want everything to burn around them. I try with everything in me to stay away from those people because they don't do anything but bring drama and negativity to my world, and I am all about trying to be positive. Look, I love you guys. I hope this video kind of buttoned up this. Hit me in the comments section, man. Hit me in the comments section and let me know how you feel about all this and how these 7 or 8 different points that I pointed out, how that affects your world. You know, how can I help you? Do you have questions? You know, I genuinely, as much as humanly possible, try to read every comment, you know, that comes in. Every time you leave a comment, I get an email. You know, so I open and clear out my email about 5 or 6 times a day. So I try to at least read everyone's comment, and I try to respond to the ones that are looking for information. You know, if you go back in the archive of my channel, you will find tons of stuff. You just will. Usually you can answer your question with something. I have, was it 256 videos or something on this channel? So there's tons of stuff there that you can get into, from band development. You know, the band rankings video is another big one. A, B, and C rankings, and what makes you an A band, what makes you a B band, that kind of stuff. That was a popular video. The Art of Mixing series was a popular series of videos. Get back here and do that stuff. And by all means, and I know this is at the end of the video, and probably 87% of y'all ain't even here at this stage of the game, would you please subscribe to the channel? Would you please just hit that subscription button and the notification bell? I promise not to whore out your information to a bunch of spammers or anything. But the more subscribers we have on the channel, the more YouTube opens up my content and targets, you know, people that can relate to this content. If you really super dig the content, think about becoming a paid subscriber. You know, for about the price of a cup of Starbucks coffee per month, you can financially support what I'm trying to do here. And that really goes a long way in me setting aside time to continue to do this. Because I'm still running a production company in the midst of all this. You have any idea the time it takes to do these videos every week? Monday is usually my day off. Well, for the last 3 years, Monday has been the day that I typically spend all day doing content. But I'm going to be honest, guys, at 52 years old, there's some Mondays where I'm so exhausted, I just don't have it in me. So then I'm rushing to do all of Tuesday's work and do content and get it all up before, 8 a.m., Wednesday morning, because that's when these videos come out. So that, $5 or $7 a month, man, it goes a long way, in helping motivate me and get me to a place where I can keep having these conversations with you guys. I love you. God bless you. And God bless our country. See ya.